Oh, I was so close to all of them through the interviews I have done. There's a great one by a resident who left his truck in Beach Haven on high ground. His home was about 2 miles away. Got a ride. Decided at the height of almost the height of the storm to walk back to safety 2 miles right next to that dune line that goes right up the boulevard. And he saw dune breaks as they were happening. He made it to safety in Beach Haven and thought he was out of danger, and the rogue wave came right through the bar he was sitting in and almost wiped him and the bartender out. So that was a compelling story. We have a story of a couple who watched a house float down their street, take their car out of their driveway and drag it away. So some pretty amazing stuff.
When you were talking to people, you learned why they stayed, and so many times when I do these kinds of shows, people at home are saying, why would these people stay? In this particular case, there was mandatory evacuation issued by the governor's office, and yet thousands of people remained on this barrier island and others along the eastern coastline. Why did they tell you that they do stay?
Well, first, it's their home, and a lot of them feel very strongly about leaving their home, their primary residence. Secondly, they simply, thought of Irene. Hurricane Irene was the latest thing they could think about. They weren't thinking this was going to be anything worse than that.
So in essence, they were thinking it's not going to be as bad as the news media is making it out to be, because previously there had been reports of a so-called storm of the century, and it turned out to be a nor'easter.
Basically, I mean, this was a supercharged nor'easter.
This one was, but I'm saying the previous ones, people say, oh, you have to leave, it's the storm of the century, and then the next thing you know, it's a rainstorm.
Right, unless you were in North Jersey, they got hammered by Irene. But, the National Weather Service tried to remedy that by putting out a personal plea saying, don't compare it to Irene, compare it to the '62 storm, because people who live along the Jersey Shore, that is the benchmark storm. And now Sandy will most likely be the benchmark storm.
So often we do hear that term, the storm of the century. In your research and in talking to longtime residents of the Jersey Shore, was this truly the storm of the century?
This is going to be the storm of the century, at least until the next storm of the century. There's no way to tell what's coming down the pike. This was an unusual storm. Caught a lot of people off guard in the sense that they didn't fully understand the storm. Even the National Weather Service is going to change the way that they talk about these kind of events as they happen. I think this really is the storm of the century in terms of what we learned from it. And I think we learned a lot.
I'm going to bring Jeff back into the conversation, because when I'm using the term storm of the century, I can see you nodding, because so often we hear that. And so when the true storm of the century comes along, does it lose its meaning?
This was the most devastating storm we've seen in a generation. But it doesn't mean that next year we won't see one as bad, if not worse. And that's part of the problem. It's what they call the 100-year storm. It's just probability. It's 1 in 100 that'll happen this year. If you look at the record in New Jersey, having a tropical storm followed by a hurricane like Lee and Irene was supposed to be once in a millennium event, and having Sandy followed by a nor'easter was a millennium event. We've had 2 millennium events in this decade. So, storms are getting much more severe, much more intense, and they can happen at any time.
So with that knowledge in hand, when you were interviewing residents, were the majority willing to rebuild and to stay put, or were they taking a look and saying, all right, the odds are this could happen again, I'm not going through it?
The vast majority are going to stay, unless the storm put them in a position where they can't afford to stay. They can't afford to upgrade their homes, or their homes were wiped out. And the whole section of southern Long Beach Island, whole neighborhood, was not allowed, was going to be sold. So they were all kind of kicked out. So the people who could stay are going to stay. I mean, the allure of Long Beach Island and all the Jersey Shore is way too strong to let any storm really stop it.
Yeah, I know that's how I felt. I mean, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there. If you want to share your experience, you can email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. The pictures in here, as I said, very compelling, heartbreaking, and yet I use the word inspiring, because you saw in the aftermath people who said, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to rebuild. I love this place. It's part of my life. I want it to be part of future generations, as long as Mother Nature cooperates, and the government. So did you find that are people having frustrations with trying to get that rebuild effort underway?
Absolutely. we've had people in the book, or we interviewed people in the book, who are still, 1 year later, not in their primary homes. They're fighting, and they're reaching dead ends at every corner. Contradictory evaluations. Their insurance company says you can fix it. The town says you can't. We have a woman in there, Jill Beloff, who's fighting tooth and nail. She's even had the ear of the governor at least once, who said to keep fighting, keep fighting. And that fight is very frustrating and wears people down, but it's all a matter of, I guess, tenacity and strength.
Why isn't there just a uniformed approach to rebuilding? Why is it that every small township along these barrier islands seems to have one set of standards, and then the federal government has another one?
And that's why we've called for regional planning, and so that we actually coordinate between all levels of government, state, local, federal, and between the towns, so that one town doesn't do something that then negatively impacts another town. You know, a dune ends here, and then there's a parking lot, and that area gets destroyed. I mean, we have to do a better job of coordinating along our coast.
Now, you had a personal experience with this as well, because you grew up on LBI or spent summers on LBI?
Yeah, seasonally I grew up. I mean, we went down in the winter too. It was our home away from home. It feels like just like home. Our home, my family's home, was in Holgate, right in the zone where many of the homes were damaged.
Where all of the houses are standing on stilts.
But it's coming back. It's on piling now. Finally, after a year, we just put it on piling, and it's coming back. But our neighbors are still struggling, and we hope everybody gets back.
We certainly hope you get back as well. In fact, that was my goal, is to try to get our houses back for the summer of 2013 so that we could contribute to the economy and support the local businesses. So when we come back, I'm going to share with you kind of a before and after of what we went through personally experiencing Superstorm Sandy firsthand. I hope you'll stay with us for that. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lynn Doyle. This is It's Your Call, and our topic is Sandy 1 year later. You know, on one hand, it seems like it just happened yesterday, and then on the other hand, it seems like it's been forever ago since Superstorm Sandy marched up the East Coast and just left this path of destruction and devastation and heartbreak for a lot of people. One of those people included me and my family. We have a beautiful home on Long Beach Island that was affected adversely by that storm. I'm sure that you guys have seen these pictures. They look so much like the pictures that are in Scott Mazzella's book called Surviving Sandy. This is the inside of our cottage, which was built in 1949. It is oceanfront. You can see we had about 3 feet of ocean water that came in through the front part of the house, breaking the windows, breaking the walls, and it just washed its way all the way through the house and went out into our backyard, into our courtyard area. We have 4 feet of sand. That actually looks like snow. and we lost our dune. The dune was completely gone. We literally could walk right out through the wall right to the beach. Well, in 1 year later, we were very fortunate that we were able to rebuild. We have made some improvements, as you can see there. It's hard to believe that a year ago it looked like it just did, but now we have rebuilt it. There it is, and we are very pleased with it. There's our courtyard. We were able to bring everything back, and our beach looks absolutely beautiful thanks to all of the efforts of the officials on LBI and a lot of effort by the Long Beach Township individuals and officials, and we were a success story. But of course, we're still fighting with our insurance company. So if anybody has any advice on how to deal with the insurance companies, please email me directly at lynn@lynndoyle.net. And if you have problems yourselves, please let us know about it, because we'd like to do a show on that as well. I want to thank Scott Mazzella. You'll be back down at the beach. Good luck with your family home.
Thank you.
And good luck with the book. It's called Surviving Sandy, Long Beach Island and the Greatest Storm of the Jersey Shore. If you are a connoisseur of storms or you have any connection to the Jersey Shore, I suggest you get it. It's a wonderful effort. Also want to thank again Jeff Tittle
Thank
from
you.
Sierra Club. Always wonderful to have you here. And again, always want to know what you think. So if you were unable to get through, email me right now at lynn@lynndoyle.net. You can also visit SandyNewJerseyReliefFund.org. See you next time.